all kinds of social media platforms. My wife and I are the co-founders of the successofmoneyfoundation.org, and we have a good friend of mine that I've known for many years, Mr. Nathan Osmond, in the house. He's going to be our first guest. And of course, everybody has an Osmond story. So I'm going to tell you one quick story about the Osmond family. Of course, Nathan's father's Alan, who was a neighbor with Robert Allen. And Nathan grew up with Bob's son, Aaron. But, my aunt was Olivine Sorensen, Larry Sorensen's mom. And she worked with your grandmother, Olive, in the fan club. And she used to just talk about all the wonderful things about the Osmonds and the whole family and everything else. And it was a wonderful experience for all of them. Jimmy was friends with Larry because they were about the same age. I remember them saying that they snuck down to the BYU football stadium and snuck in somehow and did all kinds of fun stuff and mischievous stuff. Anyway, my aunt, as she got older, had some real diabetes problems. And she was put into a rest home. And she lost both of her legs because of diabetes problems. And so she was in a wheelchair and she was just really down. And just, it was just not a very good time for her in her life. And I bought a small little TV with a video player in it. Remember those little ones? A little video player. And I put that video player and I found a whole bunch of Osmond shows.
Oh, wow.
And I took it to her and there's all these VHS Osmond shows. And she just watched them for hours and hours and hours because she said that she loved your family, your grandparents, your parents and uncles and aunts so much. And so that's just a legacy.
Wow.
It's a legacy to your grandpa and grandma. Because
absolutely,
you look at all the generations, without them, none of this would have happened. Anyway, today I'm so excited to have Nathan on with me. Nathan I've known him for many, many years. He's done amazing things. Not only is he an entrepreneur, he is an artist, a country artist. He's had 4 #1 hits that have come out, which is pretty impressive. And he's done some amazing things. He's an investor. He's a philanthropist. He gives back. His whole family gives back, because I've watched his dad and mom do so many amazing things. The whole family is that way. And I'm so excited to have him on today, jumping in there. And I think the most important thing that he is that he's a dad. He's a dad and a husband. That would probably be the one thing he's probably the happiest about and the most excited about. Anyway, I'm going to turn the time over to my friend, Mr. Nathan Osmond. Take it away, Nathan.
Thank you, Tom. Man, I tell you, what a great blessing it's been to be on here this morning and to see so many incredible faces from across the world. Some are saying good evening. I'm just waking up this morning, and it's incredible that we're all on the same planet. We're all on the same, what I call campus. We're all here to learn. We're all here to grow. We're all here to share and learn from one another. And we're all here to give back. And it's not what we do here, not the quantity of days that we have on the earth, but the quality. And we want to leave a legacy. And I see that as you with your Success and Money Foundation is doing around the world. And I just want to congratulate you. I know it's got to be a very tender day today as you got that notification about your father's passing, because we love our parents. At least I hope we do. Our parents are put in our path for a reason, and it's their first time being parents. Your dad and mom did a great job raising you. I posted in the chat, Tom Painter is a great man, and I emphasize great, and so many people agreed. Tom, thank you for the goodness that you are and for the change that you're making in so many of these people's lives. We're all children of the Most High God. He loves each one of us equally, and he wants us to succeed. He knows where the gold is too, and we need to put our trust in him. We need to be humble like you are, Tom. Look at the goodness that you're doing, and I love that you're giving credit to your parents. In one of my favorite books, it says, honor thy father and thy mother, thy days might be long upon the land. And I hope that you live to be 1,000 years old because the good that you're doing. But I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Nathan Osmond, and I do come from a musical family. And typically, the thing that I'm asked the most is, who's your daddy? Since we're talking about daddies here, I thought I'd introduce you to who my family is, because we got a lot of younger people in here and they probably don't know the stories that we were just talking about my family. My father's one on the far left there dancing. His name is Alan Osmond. He's the oldest of the performing brothers. And I say that because he has two older brothers that were both born deaf. And so they didn't do a lot of performing with the group, but I grew up watching them in television studios and on the tour buses. I travel on the road with my father and uncles and got to see them perform. He was a cartoon character, as you can see on there. And it was just so much fun. And you want to grow up to be like your parents a lot of the time. And my brothers and I actually started our own group, and we used to mimic my father and uncles. We even had a boy band. I used to tour around the world. I've been to over 26 countries, singing in many of their languages. I've had 3 songs in the top 40 in the UK with my brothers. We worked with New Kids on the Block, Color Me Bad, Salt and Pepper, Naughty by Nature, Extreme, all these big bands from the 90s, and that was a lot of fun. But boy bands grow up, and so I actually explored the genre of country music. And here's just a little sample of what my life has been like over the last several years, as I've had the opportunity and the blessing of being able to create a lot of great music and perform it all over the world. And that's a lot of fun to see some of these videos and look back and it's fun. And I like to share my stories. I have a podcast as well called Achieving Awesomeness Now, which I hope all your listeners will go to subscribe to as well, because, it's very much in harmony with the message that Tom Painter is painting out there for everybody. And that is that there is hope. And when you do the right things over and over again, you can create magic. You can create a legacy. We're going to talk about that here today. And I would love to have Tom Painter as a guest on this podcast as well. But I enjoy doing that and being a life coach. As you know, Tom, I've been teaching real estate all over the world. I had the opportunity to represent many big names you'd probably all recognize, everybody from Donald Trump to Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, Barbara Corcoran, Robert Herjavec, you name it. Tony Robbins. I've had the opportunity to share the stage and get to know these people as my friends. And, when COVID shut down the world, I said, what am I going to do with the knowledge and education that I have that I've been sharing with so many people? And I said, well, what if we go back to school and get our license and do the mortgage world? And so I started OsmondHomeLoans.com, which is a lot of fun. So day in and day out, I'm helping people to invest in real estate and get pre-approved and get out there and become homeowners. But like you said it best, that the thing I am most pleased with and most proud of is my family. I'm so grateful to be a husband and a father of 4 sons. We live here in Utah, and each and every single day I count my blessings. As I was doing my 178 push-ups today, every time I went down and pushed back up, I gave thanks and appreciation for the blessings that I love, and that's my wife and my 4 sons and my Savior and all the blessings that I have, to have a roof over my head, and as it took my mind off of the physicality of what I was doing, and with every breath, I just breathed out gratitude, and it really made a difference this morning. As I watched some of these videos here that we're showing on the screen, it just makes me count my blessings that I've had the opportunity to be married to such a beautiful lady and have these 4 incredible sons right here. And as you can see, we have a family of 4 boys. I was born into a family of 8 boys, no girls. So the Osmond name is here to stay. So in a nutshell, that's who Nathan Osmond is, and just honored to be here with you guys today. But the question is why are we here today? Why are we here? We're here to up our game. And that's an important thing to me, is what does that mean? To become the best at what we do. I think it's important to know there is a game going on. In fact, you know what? You become who you hang around. So I want to find out who I'm hanging out with. I want to invite somebody that's willing to read a letter from Cambridge University on air here today. This is a letter that was written by Cambridge University. All you have to do is read it. Do I have a volunteer that's willing to come on here? So the first one to unmute yourself and say aye. I'll let you read it. Who wants to read this letter? Okay, perfect. Whoever that was who just said aye, I'm going to put it on the screen, and all you have to do is read it out loud for all to hear. Can you read that?
Yeah. Okay, let me read it. Only smart people can read this. Cannot believe that I could actually understand what I was reading. The phenomenal power of the human mind, according to a research at Cambridge University. It doesn't matter in what order the letters in a word are. The only important thing is that the first and last letter be in the right place. The recept can be
Yep.
The reset or the reason, the reset.
The rest can be a total mess.
Okay, the rest can be a total mess, and you can still read it without a problem. This is because the human mind does not read every letter by itself, but the word as a whole. Amazing, huh? Yeah, and I was always taught spelling was important. If you can read this, pass it on.
From Cambridge University, round of applause for my friend right there. For those of you who can't see this right here, this letter is all garbled up. Not a single word is really spelled correctly, hardly. And you are still able to read it. Did you know that you could do that before you woke up this morning? I mean, what an incredible power of the mind. The mind is a beautiful thing, and we can do more than we think we can. But the key is to believe it was possible. You see, there's a great quote right here. It says, never tell a young person that something cannot be done. God may have been waiting centuries for somebody ignorant enough of the impossible to do that thing. If you would have told that little Tom Painter with the paintbrush in his hand that was painting that shed and the house and everything, that he was going to do what he's done so far, he may not have believed it at the time. But his father took the time to teach him what was important. He took the time, and then look at the legacy. When I heard you honoring your father today, man, that just made my heart swell, because I hope that my children someday will say the same of me. But the key is we've got to start now. We have to start now teaching young people what it is that's possible, because there's a lot of crazy things going on in the world right now. A lot of people are nervous. A lot of people are uncertain about their futures. So let me just say this. When there's hope in the future, there is power in the present. So the key is believe. And sometimes it just takes a lot of faith. Faith is not to have a perfect knowledge of things. Wherefore, if you have faith, you believe in things which are not seen, which are true. I want to congratulate every young person and older person here today. You see how I said older, not old? I want to congratulate you for taking time out of your day, whether it's in the evening or the early morning, for getting up and investing in your future by taking time to further your education. Tom, thank you for creating this great foundation. It's incredible. There's a guy named Earl Nightingale. I want to share this story. Earl Nightingale, he recorded a recording for his business, for his company, right? For his employees. He wanted to empower the people that were working for him and helping to build his legacy. So he did, and it was so good that they actually released it as a recording, as a record, and it became a gold record, like Elvis Presley, right? It sold so many. In fact, it's called The Strangest Secret. If you ever get the opportunity to go listen to this, it is incredible. It's short and sweet to the point. But he says something very important. He says that you become what you think about most of the time. And isn't that interesting that they call that a secret? The strangest secret. That you become what you think about most of the time. You mean you got Rhonda Byrne out there writing The Secret? You remember that book? You got Og Mandino talking about the greatest secret in the world. But one of my favorite books says, as a man thinketh, so is he, or so shall he be. And that book's been out a long time. So think about that. You become what you think about. So I'm going to challenge you guys to type in the chat box, what are you thinking about? Because you become what you think about. Now, there's an exception. Otherwise, every young man would become a young woman by the age of 16. But in most cases, you become what you think about. So my focus needs to be, what do I want? What am I doing? Am I doing things that are going to help leave a legacy? Am I furthering myself today? Am I closer to my creator today than I was yesterday? If not, who moved? You got to ask yourself the good questions. A good friend of mine named Andy Andrews told me that once. He says, Nathan, the quality of your answers is determined by the quality of your questions. So are you asking yourselves the right questions? This is a great book, guys. These books, you should go out and read these. But there's another smart man named Jim Rohn who says this about a secret. He says that you become the average sum of the 5 people with whom you associate. Isn't that interesting? They've done studies on people when it comes to wealth, that not only do they, dress the same a lot and act the same, but in most cases, their bank accounts are just within dollars of each other, that you actually earn like top 5 people with whom you associate. So what wealthy people do, and this is what Tom just said, you want to hang around successful people, do what they do, go where they go. I'm just going to say a big amen to everything that Tom Painter just said, because it's absolutely true. If you want to be a better tennis player, play someone that's better than you. You want to hang around smarter people because it brings your level up. If you play somebody that's worse at that sport than you are, your game's probably going to go down. You're not going to improve. So that, just like going to the gym, when you want to build those muscles, when you do those push-ups every morning, you're creating resistance. And I tell you, I love what Tom had to say about failure. We're going to talk about failure here in just a second, but the key is you got to make sure you're picky with whom you surround yourself, because you become just like them. If there's any parents in here, I can guarantee you're just like me. When you think about your children, you're absolutely concerned about the types of kids that they're hanging around, because in most cases they become just like them. I do like sports. I don't follow baseball a whole lot, but I found this story to be quite interesting. There's a group called the Boston Red Sox. Speaking of mindset, did you know that for 86 years they believed that they played under a curse? Let me ask you the question. If you're walking out on a baseball diamond or a tennis court or a soccer field or a football field, guys, if you believe that you're cursed as a team, how are you going to play? Like a loser. And they did for 86 years. The Boston Red Sox had this mindset that they were losers, that they were cursed, and that that's just the way it was. But I got to tell you this, they decided to change their mindsets here. In 2004, guys, they ended up winning the World Series because they got new coaching, new mindset, and they decided to break the curse. And I love the story. Not only did they win in 2004, they won in 2007, 2013, and it's just incredible. So what you need to do is break the curse. There's this one saying that people say, someday I'll go do this. Someday I'll go invest. Someday I'll buy, I'll flip a house. Someday I'll do all the things that Tom Painter taught me to do. And someday never comes, because they live in that sunny place with a lot of excuses called someday I'll. Guys, if you live on that island, here's my advice. Vote yourself off the island, just like the Red Sox did, and break that curse. Once again, with sports, you probably heard of this guy, the 4-minute mile. For as long as sports statisticians kept track and field records, it was literally humanly impossible to run the mile in less than 4 minutes. The Greeks used to tie people to horses just to see if they could do it. What do you think happened to those people? That would have hurt. But the thing is, this young medical student over in Oxford, England, decided he wasn't going to listen to the experts. He wasn't going to listen to the naysayers, that he believed it was humanly possible to do something. He had to change his mindset. He got coaching. He got people that believed in him and pushed him. And every day he saw himself running the mile in less than 4 minutes. Well, the year came, guys, right there, where Roger Bannister on May 6, 1954, did what was humanly impossible. He ran the mile in 3.59.4 seconds. He did it. They even put him on the front cover of Sports Illustrated, as you can see, as Sportsman of the Year. This medical student did the impossible. That's fantastic. Hoopla. But what they didn't tell you is just 46 days later, a guy named John Landy over in Turku, Finland, actually broke Roger Bannister's record. He ran it in 3 minutes and 58 seconds flat. But what they didn't tell you is this, is that within 10 years, 336 other athletes continue to break the 4-minute mile record, including high school students. So what changed? And don't say steroids. What changed? They gave themselves permission to believe that it was now possible because Roger did it. And if Roger can do it, so can I. 46 days later. And look at that. Over 300 and many, many more people since then, guys, have continued to break the 4-minute mile records. So the key is give yourself permission to believe that your dream is possible. Mindset is everything. And we're going to talk about mindset here today. I just love what Walt Disney had to say about this. He says, it's kind of fun to do the impossible. What a great dreamer he was. I am a big fan of Disney. Now, I want to just share a quick story here about how I came to be here in front of you today, because this was a pivotal moment in my life. This picture that you see, this was my family and myself on a big television show here in America called Good Morning America. It's nationally shown all across the country. We were in there performing and sharing, about this tour we were going to do with my father and uncles and aunt. And there were a lot of us on the screen, as you can see there. I used to be shy. I used to not be able to talk like this and express myself this way because I was just timid. And when we go on television, I was jet lagged. It was 2 hours earlier in New York. It was still dark outside. I was tired. All these big TV lights were in my face there with my family. I'm this kid right here, you can see. And the thing is that in the middle of this interview in front of national television, that lady on the left, Joan London, asked me this question. So, Nathan, do you enjoy this entertainment business? And guess who freezes up on stage? I did, in front of the whole country. I said 2 words came out of my mouth. Yes, ma'am. And she goes, ooh, I like that, ma'am. But that's the only thing I said. My father saw I wasn't going to say anything else, so he jumped in and saved the interview. And then we were finished. As I was walking out of that TV studio, my father, bless his heart, we love our dads. We're talking about our dads here today. He put his arm around me and he said, son, it's a talk show. Talk. People want to hear what you have to say. And on one end of the spectrum, I felt like I just let my family down on national television. I felt like a failure. But on the other hand, I was liberated because my father, my hero, my dad, the man that has sold over 100 million records, a man who was a black belt trained by Chuck Norris, a man that could do anything. He won 3 out of the 4 trophies in the Army. This guy was a doer. He was a hero. It still is. He looked at me with the eyes of Goethe, who said, treat a man the way that he is and he only becomes worse, but treat a man the way that he could be and then he becomes what he should be. I like that. And so, that's the thing, is that we become what we think about most of the time. I want to share one quick video here with you guys. And so hopefully you guys can hear the audio on this. Let me go ahead and turn this up here for you. But I want to introduce you to some other famous failures. Okay. See if you recognize any of these people right here. Here it goes.
Dismissed from drama school with a note that read, wasting her time. She's too shy to put her best foot forward.
Lucille Ball.
Turned down by the Decca Recording Company, who said, we don't like their sound and guitar music is on the way out.
The Beatles.
A failed soldier, farmer, and real estate agent. At 38 years old, he went to work for his father as a handyman.
Ulysses S. Grant.
Cut from the high school basketball team, he went home, locked himself in his room, and cried.
Michael Jordan.
A teacher told him he was too stupid to learn anything, and he should go into a field where he might succeed by virtue of his pleasant personality.
Thomas Edison.
Fired from a newspaper because he lacked imagination and had no original ideas.
Walt Disney.
His fiancée died. He failed in business twice. He had a nervous breakdown, and he was defeated in 8 elections.
Abraham Lincoln.
If you've never failed, you've never lived.
What a message. Did we just not hear Tom Painter say that? If you're not failing, you're not doing enough things. In fact, you got to fail your way to success. Just like this man, Abraham Lincoln, said about failure. He says, my concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure. Maybe you've made an investment that went south. Maybe you've invested in things that didn't work out exactly as good as you wanted them to. Maybe you did something that embarrassed you, right? Maybe you made a mistake in life. Maybe whatever it was, my question is, are you content with that failure? I don't believe there's such a thing as failure. I think there's feedback, and life will give you plenty of it. But you got to be in tune. You got to listen, learn from the mistakes, shake it off, and keep on keeping on. And that's what Abraham Lincoln had to do. And look how he changed our country. There's a lot of other famous, failures out here, like Beethoven. Do you consider him a failure? No. I mean, he's a world renowned. But did you know that his own music teacher told him he was hopeless as a composer? It was a good thing he was deaf. He didn't hear what she said. And then Charles Schultz, the guy that created Charlie Brown. I mean, every one of his cartoons were turned down by his high school yearbook staff. Every one of them. They didn't know he was the great Charles Schultz. Vincent van Gogh painted over 2,000 paintings during his lifetime, but only sold 1. Is he a failure? Henry Ford failed and went broke 5 times before creating the Model T automobile. Oh, I love Henry Ford. He's got some great quotes, too, that I've lived by. Charles Darrow, the guy that created the game Monopoly, if you've ever played Monopoly, He took it to Parker Brothers, and they said that Monopoly had 52 design errors. So instead of changing any of those suggestions, he just published it the way it was, and it became the biggest selling board game of all time. And of course, even Steven Spielberg rejected from film school 3 separate times. What if he had just listened to the experts, the naysayers? What if we wouldn't have E.T., Jaws, any of these great movies, right? Think of what the world would have been out of if we hadn't heard from him. You got to get tough. And I'm going to save this segment here, Tom, for the next segment we're going to do. But I just want to thank you, Tom, for having me on this show. Hopefully what I've said here so far today has resonated with you guys. And I just want to let you guys know that I believe in you. And just like my father, as we walked out of that studio, and he said, people want to hear what you have to say. You know, at times, if you don't believe in yourself, you got to believe in somebody else's belief in you until your own belief kicks in. And I can tell you this, Mr. Tom Painter believes in you. And so do I. The fact that you're here today in this podcast, in this broadcast, the fact that you're taking time, some of you are still in bed and it's dark and I can see you're laying on your pillows. You're putting in the time right now to be successful. You are not normal, and that is fantastic. You never want to be normal. Be different. Normal doesn't pay very well. Most people are not. They just go along with the 97%. Only 3% of people actually go into retirement at a higher level of income than they had in their best working years because they did what Tom Painter told them to do. You're on a good track. Stay with that, because when there's hope in the future, there's power in the present. I'm Nathan Osmond. Thanks, you guys. Hope you enjoyed this segment.